Hello and welcome to another episode of Survivor Pool AI, Artificial Intelligence, where we have taken three artificial intelligence models, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok, and have used them to create three artificial intelligence agents. And these agents are each week picking a team to enter into an NFL Survivor Pool. My name is Kip Skavinsky, and I'm assisted here by Eric Tedisco, who is helping with some YouTube and social media technical aspects. First of all, before I forget, please like and subscribe to this video, as it will help us out a lot. You also might benefit from going back to episode 1, where we've laid out the foundation for what we're trying to do. In effect, having these three models compete with each other to see which one is able to perform this, I think, rather complex task best, but also let the viewer know and how they can benefit because of the model and what they're being able to sort through the massive amount of data associated with trying to pick a team each week. Having said that, we are in actually two pools. One, I'll call it a local pool, where it started out with 134 participants, and now 13 have been eliminated. 20, and this pool, you're allowed 2 bad picks. So on your second, or wrong pick, so on your second wrong pick, you're out of the pool. The pool started with 134 participants. 13 have been eliminated. 27 have lost 1 life, and 45 players have 2 lives. 44. So 45 players have 1 life remaining, and 76 players have 2 lives remaining. So the remaining players in this pool from how it started is approximately, it looks like 57%. In the larger pool, 36%, it started out with something like 47,000 participants, and now there's 17,000 remaining. So they're down to 36%. So our smaller pool, for whatever reason, seems to be outperforming the larger pool if you take the combination of players remaining. So in the how'd we do in week 4? ChatGPT was eliminated in the larger pool by picking the Chargers. Gemini also had been eliminated earlier in week, I guess it was week 3, when Cleveland upset Green Bay. So Grok is the only one that remains in this larger pool with their Bills selection. In the smaller pool, last week both Chat and Grok picked the Chargers, so they have 1 loss. As I said, in the larger pool, they have there's only Grok remains in the larger pool. So let's get started with week 5 picks. In this ChatGPT, we start with them. In the smaller pool, as I said, they're started with 134 participants, 76 left with 2 lives, and 45 left with 1 life. So Chat is going to pick the Eagles over the Broncos. They're a strong, they said they're a strong home favorite, and they said because fewer are eliminated yet, the safe pick is still paramount and doesn't want to risk another early out selection, or doesn't want to take a risk early. So they said they must be safe. They're picking the Eagles because of they're at home, a balanced roster, and Denver has been shaky. So that's Chat's selections for week 5. Gemini, again, I gave them the number of participants still left in the smaller pool, and Gemini is actually eliminated in the larger pool, so they only have to pick for the smaller pool. Their selection for week 5, they reviews the case Detroit versus the Bengals. They said it's a massive favorite at home, and the strategy would be a fantastic pick. They also discussed the Cardinals versus the Titans. In the case, they're another huge favorite against the terrible Titans team that was shut out last week. And they also mentioned the Rams, a good solid home favorite against the 49ers that's banged up. But the strategy is, and that would be a viable option, they said, but it's not as safe as the Lions or Cardinals. So, given that we are in a pool where most players have 2 lives, our priority is simply to win and preserve our advantage. So the Lions are the most logical choice they've indicated. They have the highest probability of the teams they haven't used, and they're playing a team that has looked somewhat out of sync. So it's a safe, straightforward pick that hopefully moves us on to week 6 with our 2 lives still intact. So their pick is the Lions. Now, Grok. Grok have one loss in the small pool, and they're the only one of these teams that are left in the larger pool. So their pick is for the smaller pool, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Titans. It's a favorable matchup. They're 9.5-point favorites at the time, and they have so far a solid team performance. With only 121 players, 45 on their last life, and still 76 with 2. Elimination looms if they miss, and the Cardinals are a 83% win probability, and it's a safer risk and other favorites like the Eagles versus the Broncos. So again, their matchup in the large pool, which they are still in, they're saying Eagles versus Broncos. And the reasoning there is the Eagles, again, are a dominant favorite, although they're not picking them in the smaller pool. And since Philly's number 1 in the power rankings, that would be a good choice. With 17,000 players still left in that pool, 1 loss eliminate demands near certainty, and so they figure the Eagles are giving them that win probability, even though it isn't the highest, with the Cardinals having the highest probability. With both artificial intelligence rivals out, they're deciding to stick to a safety pick to outlast the herd, as approximately 30% may miss week 5, which would give another 5,000 to 6,000 eliminations. So it's interesting that they're picking that, and what's interesting about some of the logic is contrary. So those are the picks for week 5, and to sum it up, in the smaller pool, Chat is picking the Eagles, Gemini is picking the Lions, and Grok is picking the Cardinals. And in the larger pool, with 17,000 participants still remaining, and only one of our AI models has survived that pool, Grok has decided to pick the Bills. So a couple of observations here as I go through these models and setting them up each week. I'm noticing imperfections, and of course we are all or those of you who might be using AI models for different things at work or personal use, home use, whatever, that you get warned that not to take what the models have to say 100% correct. And again, I've used the example, for example, in, say, medical research, different models have been known to cite published articles which don't exist. So these are not perfect, as I've discovered. Some of the things that I found out are things like the models seem to lose track at times of teams that they've picked. So they try to pick them again, and I point out and make that correction. So they say back, oh, of course, I'm sorry, I overlooked that. Here's my other pick. At times, they're evaluating other teams or other selections, and they're referring to games that are not being played, probably a previous week game. For example, one of the models said the Vikings were playing, I'm not sure who, in an overseas game. That was last week. The Vikings did that. So have to be careful, and once in a while I've entered a pick in the wrong pool, large pool, small pool for them, so I've tried to make that correction to them. But nevertheless, we've had a pretty good selection rate, except not doing well in the large pool with one elimination, but Grok is still in that after 4 weeks, and let's see what happens in 5 weeks. And I think the real test is going to be down the road once we get into 8, 9, 10 weeks, and I think this will be the case for all participants in these pools. If they've started out with strong picks, they're going to, of course, start running out of those picks and start to pick games where the margin of victory is much closer. So let's see what happens in that case. So again, please like and subscribe to the video. You have any questions about this, I would welcome that in terms of comments. And I'm thinking that I've seen areas where there can be improvement in that going down the road. For example, I'm not sure if you're watching this, if we make a selection, if for example, Grok says to pick the Cardinals, and you may have already used up the Cardinals and therefore can't use them in your current week selection. So the question is how to account for that, how to account for the viewer who has come on late or has decided to make a different pick, and because the models supposedly you are not allowed to, they're not allowed to make those picks, but they may still have a pick available that you can't use because you've used it in a prior thing. So there's probably a way to handle this, and I have to think about it because it'll get pretty complicated or convoluted if I have to give or post somehow every option that you have or that you might have to this. So I'm not sure that makes any sense. Probably doesn't, but nevertheless, I'm trying to figure that out as to how to make this more useful to those of you who might have already used a pick that the models are suggesting. So let's see what happens in week 5, and we'll be back next week. Again, please like and subscribe to this video, and good luck to you in your week 5 selections. Thank you.